of time to guide us on how to participate and to be effective contributor in ITU matters, but only limited countries. If we have a third country, I don't know, but I will just mention 2 countries. So my emphasis is, how do we use this guideline now to participate in ITU activities? How will our embracing the NAS change this result? I started my slide with the speech of the Secretary General of the United Nations. That was in World Telecommunication and Information Day 2019. He said, setting standards is a fundamental pillar of ITU's mission as the specialized agency of the United Nations for Information and Communication Technologies. ITU standards make it possible, we know that one. The upcoming 5G standard, especially if coupled with artificial intelligence, will support new range of applications, which we will soon take for granted. We all know this, the third one there, which is interoperability and others. And called upon ITU member states, industrial members, small and big companies, and academia, together with the United Nations sister agencies, partners, and all stakeholders to support ITU's Bridging the Standardization Gap program for the prosperity and well-being of all. Why is ITU interested in establishment of a standardization secretariat, of a national standardization secretariat? This is because of ITU's commitment to bridging the standardization gap. Whereas that bridging the standardization gap is one of the 5 strategic objectives of ITU standardization sector activities. We know the goal of the standardization, bridging the standardization gap programs. In this context, the BSG program aims to facilitate the efficient participation of developing countries in ITU standard making process to disseminate information about existing standards and to assist the developing countries in implementation of these standards. All these are information from ITU. There was a clarion call from WTISD 2019, and this clarion call was based on Resolution 123, Dubai. We also have relevant, by this, it called on member states, sector members, associates, academia, small and medium-sized enterprises from developing countries, the leadership of ITU study groups and advisory groups, and the leadership and staff of ITU Secretariat to not only commemorate WTISD, but also to use it to raise awareness of the importance of bridging the standardization gap. There was call for the role of the academic institutions. There was a call for the member states. There was also a call for, the member states were also invited to encourage their experts, in particular young and women experts, to join ITU activities, which includes to host standardization meetings as well as events, forum, workshops related to ITU standardization activities. Regions were also invited to take active part in activities of the groups within the ITU study groups and support regional organizations. We'll come to the details where we now know the role of the regional organization, the role of the administration, and the role of the sub-regional organizations. Gary Fishman was quoted, he said it is quite normal to see more attendees from developing countries than the past, and that establishing a national standardization secretariat process at home can turn these attendees into more effective participants. This is the focus of my discussion. How can we establish a national secretariat? The national secretariat guided how people can participate. Although some developing countries have been long-time participants in ITU activities, participation in the study groups has, by and large, included only limited developing countries representation with active participation and contribution to the work, coming mostly from developed countries. Comparing to today's situation with participation in the past, there has been a clear change with growing level of attendees from more regions of the world and from more developing countries, and that in the past 5 years, attendees of ITU study group meetings have included representatives from more than 40 countries that had not previously participated. What is the question behind all this now is, how are these developing countries going to start establishment of national standardization secretariats? He also noted that, but there is still a big difference between simple attending a meeting and participation by well-prepared, well-managed, active delegations, such as those seen from other countries, more experienced in international standardization work, and that this difference can be attributed to one main factor, the existence of a national standardization secretariat. If you go to Geneva and most of all these ITU events, they come in a group. China comes in a group. Korea comes in a group. European countries, as large as they are, come in a group. Africans come as individuals. The difference is not just for one of numbers, but of a national process. How do we generate a national process towards which approaching issues of standardization in ITU? He recommended that an effective NSS can provide a route for a developing country to participate more actively in ITU standardization work. ITU's core strategic objective for establishment of NAS. By Plenipot 10, the Resolution 71 was established to assist in bridging the standardization gap between developed and developing world. ITUT's assistance to developing countries is further supported by Plenipot 10, Resolution 123. Programs 1 and 2 of the action plan to implement WISA 12 Resolution 44 specify that ITU has developed guidelines to assist developing countries in their involvement in ITUT activities. ITU's core strategic objective for establishment of NAS. ITU actions in response to this resolution have included the granting of fellowship to aid the participation of representatives from some developing countries, offering online remote participation tools, and developing support programs which study groups such as appointment of mentors and the holding of newcomer session at each meeting. I think we are live witness to that. A recent deliverable coming in direct response to the Resolution 44 action plan has been the publication of the guidelines that describe the benefit, establishment, and operation of such a national body. So we are now going to the guidelines. This guideline recognizes that many developing countries have limited resources. That is the main question. They have limited resources to draw on for ICT standardization effort, which is a peculiar problem, particularly those not from the major areas like in the ministry and the regulatory bodies. If you go to the private sector and the universities, these are one of the factors that hinder their participation. And I want to say that we have now appreciated that those from the academias are necessary. The three options for a national process put forward by the guidelines provided a structure through which the developing countries can scale up their participation in ITU. These guidelines refer to those options as number one, NAS general level, the common level, like we can come to Nigeria. I'm happy that Zambia and Ghana has one already. We can come to Nigeria. We have focus group on machine learning. Is either the ministry, NCC, sorry if I call NCC, or NIDA, should coordinate inputs into this, and if possible, call for contributions, which they will coordinate. It becomes a Nigerian standard, and not Chikasado standard, or University of Nigeria Soka standard. But Nigeria should have a standard to coordinate people who will now pursue this focus group on machine learning. Thank God we also have somebody in focus group on 2030. Nigeria has not started as a body. 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3 institutions form this level we call NAS general level. Then there's also another level called NAS study group level. There's also another level called full sector, NAS full sector level. So it is in 3 levels. Roadmap. There's a roadmap to establishment of a NAS. We can read that on our own, because my own interest is to emphasize the need for the formation of this NAS. African participation in the work of a focus group meeting. The focus group on machine learning 5G was established in Geneva during the ITUT SG13 meeting of November 2017. The focus group has its responsibility as highlighted in the second bullet point. One of us here is one of the vice chairman. Outputs of this focus group approved by SG13 they have two important documents now. One is on architectural framework for machine learning in future networks, including IMT 2020, which was released 1st of 2019. They also have ITU's machine learning aware network architecture, bridging intelligence to verticals. We have been talking about this focus group. We have been talking of 5G, though some people said 5G is already in existence. But it's not in existence in Africa. They are just test running. Some people have gone beyond that, like China, maybe some of the European countries, maybe some of the Asian countries. Is this time not the right time for us to really use this NAS approach to have a coordinated effort towards participating not only on this focus group on machine learning, but also on the 30-30 agenda? Well, the next meeting is scheduled for Beijing, 19 to 20, but I think because of the corona crisis in China, the venue may be changed. The date may also be changed, but we are waiting for information. The participation in focus group meeting is always free of charge. Africans are therefore required to participate in this focus group meeting as well as other SG meetings. Recommendation: as there are increasing number of standardization work on new technologies going on almost on daily basis in the ITUT activities, be it in focus groups, study groups, it now behoves on African countries to critically study ITUT NAS approach to enable effective participation of Africans in this standardization effort. At this point, I will ask, who coordinates us at African level? Do we involve ATU, or do we grow from administration to sub-regional to ATU? I would like all these things to be what we should ruminate as we go along in this workshop. Need for creation of more awareness on the guidelines for establishment of NAS. I will recommend that Nigeria in particular, and maybe this meeting, should make a specific comment on this NAS guideline, and maybe it will be part of these documents for administrations to look into critically and to fashion out an approach towards adopting it. Need for funding opportunities. I had earlier mentioned it. Some people have good background. They are funded. We are also talking of in the academia. How do we bring more of the academia? The NUC is not here. University of Nigeria is just one university out of about 70-something universities. And I don't see why you can force government to focus maybe on one university. It behoves on the administration of Nigeria, if we should put it in our recommendation, to now coordinate the universities, if it is possible, through NUC, so that the academia will see the importance of these ITU activities, and maybe funding from TED Fund can also be extended to ITU activities. In the same vein, the regulators, they also have funding, and you have the Universal Service Fund. Can all these funds be extended for human capacity purposes? Just a question, and for us to think aloud on. My takeaway on this is the establishment of NAS, both at the administrative level and regional level. What is the strategy to be adopted? Improve participation in focus group on machine learning and other focus group meetings and SG meetings. That is the essence of NAS. Then lend support for the identification of focal point persons for ongoing works of the ITU under NAS guideline at Africa regional level. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Engineer Asadu. And I think we can do better by giving him another round of applause. That's excellent. And just a brief summary. For me, the most important thing that we can look at is, apart from what he mentioned about setting up the national standards, funding is very, very critical, because On many occasions in Africa, we start on few things, and along the way, due to funding, we are unable to continue. His recommendation was for us to have a second look at how universal service funds are being used, and also regulators that have some resources should start looking at funding some of this academia for them to participate in the ITU activities. Thank you very much, engineer. So we'll quickly move on to the next presentation. And our engineer is joining us from remote. Hold on 1 second. Marco, are you online?
Yes, I'm online. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you very much. For many of Marco, we all know does not really need so much introduction once again, and he's been so much involved with a lot of the works in ITU 13, study group 13, and also ITU study group 20. He's a Huawei consultant, and he's going to take us through some of the achievements on artificial intelligence within ITUT study group 13. We focus on question 20, 13 activities. Marco, you are on.
Thank you, and good morning, all. Good afternoon, I would say now to all. Thanks again for these opportunities. This is a brief flight over what we are doing in study group 13. In particular, as a rapporteur, associate rapporteur of question 20, I'm involved in a lot of these activities on machine learning, and a number of these items we have progressed or published have been actually progressed within the focus group on machine learning for 5G and then inherited by 13. And again, this is a quick overview. Please do not hesitate offline. There are various people that obviously can feedback on that. I also saw that Dr. Ram later will make some linkage on some of the items I'm just presenting here, the published document in particular. This is nice to see the follow-up of that. So next slide, please. This is just an highlights of the question in study of 13 which are involved currently in AI, artificial intelligence machine learning studies. In the working party 1 on A2020 properly, there is question 6 dealing with an item on US perspective. On question 20, this is the object of my presentation, the following slides. Question 21 about softwareization, slicing, and orchestration has 2 ongoing items also. And then we have 2 activities in the cloud computing and big data working party. One is actually 2 questions. One has 2 items, question 7, related to big data and deep packet inspection aspects. And question 17 and another 2 items related to cloud computing. Actually, there is one is about roadmap of artificial intelligence, as we do in many other topics. We are progressing joint roadmap. Next slide, please. So this is just to say that question 20 has had an amendment of his test in the last October, just to include more formally the activity of machine learning we are doing consistently. And this is just I have highlighted in the question test, what we are aiming at. So question 20 is about network recurrent function architecture. The application of AI, including ML, will be beneficial to the system in terms of network operation, application support capabilities, both sides. So what we are studying is which type of technologies are required, including AI and machine learning technologies, and how to incorporate them and intelligence in the IT 2020. So that's the purpose of these studies in essence in question 20. Next slide, please. So the first items that have been actually published are related to a document inherited from the focus group. This is the supplement, is an informative document, as the supplement says, about use cases. The focus group has delivered us a large number of use cases. You can count there are 30 use cases. And analysis of that has been done, presenting these use cases in a unified format among different classes, topics: network slicing and service, network service, user planning, application, signal management, or security. And we have illustrated them with the basic set of possible related requirements. Possible because this is an informative document, so we can just say possible. However, there is quite a nice categorization in terms of critical, expected, or added value requirements. Obviously, there is no time to go in this detail. Next slide, please. So this is, I would say, is the key foundational document if you want. We can say that in terms of architectural framework for machine learning future networks, and in particular anti-2020. So it is Y3172. This document includes a set of requirements from architectural point of view and components. There are different components that I will say a few words now, and they have to satisfy this requirement and integrate it into the network. And then it also informatively provides guidelines how to apply this framework in different underlying networks, for example, technology-specific underlying networks, because we have to implement them in specific networks. So the main concept is that we have an underlying network you can see at the bottom of this picture with the network functions. And then over that, we deploy an overlay pipeline, which is a set of logical nodes, ML pipeline. They can be combined to form an application of machine learning, and they can be deployed, as we see in the second horizontal box, over the underlay. But it can also be deployed in a simulated environment. In fact, you can see on the top a sandbox, some system. Now, I don't have time to go in the node, the different type of node, the model, pre-processing, source and target, and sync. They can be deployed at different level of the architecture, so multi-level chained pipeline. And these are deploy functionalities, specific functionality. Who handle and manage orchestrated this node is the machine learning function orchestrator that you can find on the left box. It takes into account the machine learning intent requirement expressed in a specific formalized language, or also consider dynamic condition of the network as a feedback, and then instantiate and handle orchestrated this node, which realize machine learning application. The document doesn't, the picture here doesn't show reference point for data handling, which somehow interact between the pipeline subsystem, and the underlying network in terms of data input and output. To receive data and to execute some functionalities of the application over, to give execution over the network. The sandbox is allowed to host the separate pipelines. And this is to train, test, evaluate before deploying in live network. Obviously, can use simulated data or also data which comes from a live network to evaluate and see if there are further adaptation that we can do. So that in substance, a brief overview of this key foundational document. It is, there is no time to go in more detail. Next slide, please. This is an interesting document in the sense that we're talking about evaluating intelligence level framework for this. Intelligence level here is essentially assimilated to autonomicity. So what we have done here, still based on the focus group initial input, now this document is under additional review. We have developed a method and architectural view for evaluating this intelligence. Also, as information, we position this framework with the work of other bodies, for example, Society of Automotive Engineers, GSMA, and Forum, ETSI, ANI, and applying this method on some representative use cases. So what's the main motivation is that it's important to adopt a standard method for evaluating the level of intelligence of a network. This can be beneficial because we can measure, we have a basis to measure this level and components. We help the industry to have a unified understanding of network intelligence concept. We have a reference for supervisor of the industry to formulate planning for development of strategies, and also as a decision support system for technology feature in terms of planning them or roadmaps of products. The picture on the right side just show you different levels that we call from manual network operation to full intelligence, level 0 to 5. There are different dimensions where we can evaluate the level of intelligence for the dimension. And then we cannot go in detail here. The overall network intelligence level is determined by selecting the minimum network level of across all dimensions. So that's all for, I would say, high-level presentation. Next slide, please. The last document that we have expected to be approved soon is also in AR, is 3174, Y 7174, framework for data handling. So this builds on the obviously architectural framework you saw before, and it put over that some additional architectural components reusing those of 3172 to somehow develop requirements for data collection and processing in user scenarios for machine learning, applying the data collection and processing mechanism in terms of output, so requirement for applying this output, and then based on this requirement, the framework, with example of realization of specific underlying networks. So we do not have time to go there. There are different elements like a data broker, machine learning database, data store subsystem with API generic, API specific specification. They all play the role to somehow instantiate finally the appropriate data handling framework. And what are the challenges in that and why we did this? Because there are increasing diversity in network data sources, an increasing flexibility, agility with the richer configurations, and evolving sorts of data with multiplicity of applicable configuration and parameters and policies. All of this make challenging to apply, implement the framework, the high-level framework 3172, and adapt it to the changes that all this evolution brings. So at the same time, preserving the quality of data. So we need to have a generic framework which enables data handling. Next slide, please. So now this slide is just highlighting 4 ongoing items. You see some of them are targeted for this year in the second trimester. I would say for some of them it's certainly a little advanced, and then we tentatively do that, but probably the little most advanced is the third one, machine learning marketplace integration. I will say a few words on that in the limited time I have. So the next one is machine learning integration, marketplace integration. So here we develop requirement for integrate machine learning marketplace derived from use case, and we build on this an architecture. The ongoing work you see on the right side is showing a sandbox system which interface with the internal marketplace, and this interface with the external marketplace, or directly the pipeline system can interface with them. And this is what is the marketplace? Is a place where you can find models, machine learning models. And this has to be used and choose the appropriate one for the appropriate solution. So what we need here, and why we started this, is because we need to integrate this marketplace, and there are some challenges. So we need interoperable mechanisms to identify the marketplace, to have interoperable automatic mechanisms for selection of the appropriate solution. We need a specific standard mechanism to exchange models and metadata between the operator and the marketplace, which can be external, outside at all of the market, of the network provider environment. And selecting the model among them and chaining them also requires specific mechanism among models. Sharing information and adapting to the different deployment environments. So there are different challenges. That's why we are working on this standardization. Next slide, please. The following slide is about AI-based network automation. So this is about how AI-based techniques can leverage processing volume of data, inferring, predicting the system behavior, and making accurate and prompt decision can allow the execution of appropriate control operation in the network in order to improve the network efficiency and maintain the quality of service when we detect failure or recover from failure. And this is essentially how to use as best as possible these resources. Despite the changing condition of the network condition of the failures, the service to the quality of service of the service to the customer should be maintained. So I would say with a limited time, next slide, please. This is about still an AI-based aspect about network, which is service provisioning, user-oriented. So what we want to do is define an architectural framework for this service provisioning based on AI, but based on user orientation. So how we can generate based on AI network requirements, configuration, provisioning workflows, when in order to map the requirement from the application service developer or the user. So the intents, if you want, in formal language. So traditionally, there is some work which has been done between stakeholders, so application developer, network provider, service provider, to have interface and translating this requirement from the top to the infrastructure capability. But with the environment which is completely changing, diversifying more and more, the application that also are diversifying, and we need that this cooperation be effective and agile with the interface that can take into account also the intelligence provided by artificial intelligence techniques. So we are working on interaction between the customer and the providers and the network with the AI, and this is totally new. So how to configure and operate automatic autonomous this interface based on AI and translate the requirements from the user. Next slide, please. This is the final slide, is about another interesting topic. Today, we have intelligent analysis systems deployed over the network in different domains. In many cases, there are these intelligence systems do not work together. They are provided by different vendors without standardization. So there is maybe one for the RAN, another one for the other part of the network. So the aim here, this is come from provider, China Mobile as an example, wants an architecture which coordinates, unifies these analysis systems across different domains. And so this is the purpose of this work. It just started. The design principle include unified framework, distribution, collaborative design, reusability, data sharing, scalability. So it's quite interesting how, from the market situation today, we want to try to standardize to achieve a common purpose and unify the framework. And that's all, and thank you for your time. Sorry for maybe a few minutes delay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marco, for your excellent presentation. And I'm sure we have been educated, especially with some of the activities with question 20 of SG13. We've been told some of the achievements, especially in the area of the recommendations that SG question 20 has produced so far, and then the ongoing work items. And I will advise that we all take some interest and go through it, get some of the recommendations, and address ourselves with it. Thank you very much, Marco. But I'm thinking the way we did for Dr. Rim in the morning, perhaps in order not to keep Marco waiting, we could go ahead and then solicit the questions or any contributions for that require Marco's attention so that they can answer them and move on. Then when we finish, we'll continue with the next presentation. So the floor is open for some few questions or comments. Anybody, if you have any questions for Marco, please, you are welcome. Marco, are you there?
I'm there.
Good, thank you. Okay. Mike, please. Okay.
Yeah, mine is not necessarily a question.
Okay.
If I might have my way, I would say it's a request.
Okay.
And at the same time, to appreciate Marco.
Good.
Because if you have been a follower of this question 20 and focus group on machine learning and even network 3030, you know that he's a giant. First, I've appreciated him. He's a good friend of us. But one thing has been endearing in me. Our concern here is participation. And sometimes I knew that last year the focus, study group 13 had its meeting in, I think, Zimbabwe, in Africa. I'm trying to request that if it is possible, and because of distance and the financial implications, how regular can some of these meetings be dragged down to Africa? It's just a request, not necessarily a question, because we appreciate Marco's effort, we appreciate Study Group 13 effort, but we want to gain more from it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Engineer Azadu. Marco, do you have some response, or we should let?
Well, I mean, it's not me to respond. I want to fully support Dr. Azadu, my friend, and certainly the participation from Africa. I also saw yesterday presentation about many use cases which you are dealing with machine learning. We see just presentation after from the other colleagues. Certainly, it will be very important that we have improved and we increase as much as possible the cooperation, the support, so that you are timely involved in the activities. And we have to do this effort of education in the sense that sometimes not only participating in meetings is enough. People have to read everything, but sometimes we need to give a context. So workshops like this are useful. Also from my side, I did an effort to collect this information now. I would say for one of the first presentations, I put all together these things. But this is certainly helpful, and the link between ITU and focus group, for example, question 20 is working very well. Dr. Vishnu will talk later about this. Now, in terms of participation, we have electronic meetings. You know, one of these electronic meetings is starting just in half an hour, and I'm sharing it during this week. The electronic meeting, we have a participation that I invite you to follow as much as possible. This electronic meeting. Maybe sometimes we have issues, I don't know, with the connectivity when we are all in remote. It's not always easy as physical, but the electronic meeting is a good way. And certainly when we have physical meeting, we achieve a lot of things. I think the last meeting of Study 13 in Zimbabwe was very proficient, apart from the excellent organization. So we have to do that more. But I would say now, I don't want to take time to the others. So we have to talk offline. It's not only me. There is Tatiana there, Shaba, all TSB. There is Simon. There is other people, Dr. Rim on the call. Many people also involved from Africa, which Dr. Wakil would certainly have experience. And suggest that. I think we have to seriously try to think about the option alternative and propose seriously that, so that we really have the linkage. About IoT, Smart Africa, for example, we need to do a proficient linkage with these things. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Okay.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Dr. Mohammed Mustafa from NCC. My question is directed, I believe, maybe at Marco and Simon as well. A few years ago, maybe I'm mistaken ITU for IGF, but there was some works being done on AI ethics in AI. I don't know if someone can shed more light on that, please.
Thank you very much. Marco. Marco. Are you there? Okay. Simon, do you have any response to AI ethics work, either in SG13 or anywhere else? Perhaps, maybe it was at IGF. Okay, Marco, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. I was muted by the organizer, so I couldn't.
Oh, okay. Sorry. There's a question from the audience.
I had it.
Oh, that's fine. Okay.
Well, but I mean, Simon first, then you had my point.
Sure, answer. Okay. Simon is asking graciously if you could help us with answering it.
So I mean, the ethics is very important. Dr. Mustafa, AI for Good Summit taken regularly every year by ITU is try to address, for example, aspects that we somehow are related to ethics. Okay. So already we have to begin to look at this from the point of view of different study groups. AI is not only in 13, is in 16. There is a study focus group on health or autonomous driving. So from the point of view, a lot of application in imaging health, I mean, ethics is very critical. And so there is an effort to address that. This is something which is not only ITU. European Commission is recognized, for example, the importance of that, the fact that to include ethics clearly as a guideline, how to manage technical AI to be ethical. So it's a worldwide recognition. Obviously, ITU is an international organization, recognize that. So now some initiatives have been progressed initially in IEEE. There is some effort. And now we are going over on this. So for example, we are discussing this in different study groups, how this ethical aspect of AI can be progressed in the context of the specific work item. So it's part also of the discussion about the next study period. We are discussing, for example, AI for IoT as smart cities. You know, that's a very wide topic. And there we are discussing the topic. So I believe that the effort in ITU will move forward on this. And certainly we need the standards collaboration on that. We need to impact the specific technology. Maybe later somebody else can add that. I believe Vishnu can add something from the perspective of his actor in the Fox group. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. Any more questions? It's a
Sorry, so yeah, my question follows again. Now it goes back to Simon. So are we doing anything on an African level in terms of AI and how it's adopted? Because my fear is Africa is catching up. And unfortunately, AI systems are not meant to be adopted. They are meant to be developed. So unfortunately, if we are playing the backseat and waiting for systems to be developed elsewhere and then adopted within our environment, it doesn't work. I believe that's one of the practical experiences the students had yesterday, which they tried to use a couple of tools that existed out there and they had challenges. And in fact, I think that was one of the take-home, that they were requesting recommendations of how to overcome those hurdles yesterday. So I don't know, is there anything we're doing on an African level to address those issues? Because African, even not talking of ethics, I mean, African society, our peculiarities are way different from the Asian, from the American, from the Europeans. And AI systems developed using their data can never work in Africa. That's just, so
Thank you very much. Simon, look as if you really have to answer something. So if you could do justice to it, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you very much. I think it takes insistence to get something out of me. Thank you very much for that question. This is what I know. The issue of security is that ethics is very rife. And I remember the last meeting which I attended, the ministers were very, very vocal on that issue, especially the African ministers. They identified issues of ethics as being one of the deterrents of uptake of some of these new technologies. I've just had a discussion with one of the guys who's been discussing cloud computing, and I just brought up that very issue. Now, as you might be aware, the African ministers made a declaration, a cybersecurity declaration, which is one of the strongest outputs yet from the AU in as far as ICT is concerned. This is causing a lot of discussions all around, think all the way up to the UN. And the AU, that's the African Union, the ATU, the African Telecommunication Union, the arm of Africa that's responsible for development of telecommunications in Africa under AU, is had as one of its activities this year, AI and machine learning. The meeting that was held in Kampala developed as a strategy, something similar to the declaration that was made by the presidents. Sorry, it wasn't the ministers, they were the presidents. So there is a preparation to engage the AU to bring out a declaration in relation to issues related to ethics, especially as far as new technologies are coming out, but mostly artificial intelligence and machine learning. The backdrop is the observations that the gentleman has made, that we really don't have a lot of time. These are coming up, and either we kind of draw our own lines, or the lines will be drawn for us. In a nutshell, yes, there is an effort that's being started by the African Telecommunication Union with the view of generating a good document which will be presented to the presidents in the AU meeting, so that there is a declaration. The effort is towards a declaration. I don't know whether that is helpful, but I'm aware of those efforts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Simon. Any more? Yeah. Yes, please go ahead. I think with this last one, we can...
I'll go back to Simon again.
Yeah.
Because in the meeting of ITUT executive body, there was an argument on how to develop a strategy of approaching these ministers or the head of states and having a dedicated office in the AU, particularly to be alerting them of this development and calling their support or creating the awareness among them, and they should be playing a role. As these technologies evolve, how do we get this head of states or ministers involved? Now we are talking of national secretariat. If this thing goes up to them, they will appreciate it the more. I just want to know whether he can add one or two things to it again. Thank you.
Okay. Simon, you have something to add to it, what he just said?
Yeah, that's okay. How this works is that whatever you feel is important, what we've discovered to work in the, especially in as far as Africa is concerned, is that we get a unified presidential voice. That's what, because of our distance and because of our lack of involvement, when the presidents speak, I think there is some strength behind it. And we found that to be very active, it's very efficient, drawing from the example of that cyber, I don't know whether many of you know it, the declaration that was made.
Yeah.
So, what I want to, and I left this one out, what I want to encourage members to do is to get involved in this process. You may not go to the AU. Certainly, I've never been to the AU, especially when the presidents are sitting. But what you do through your country, if you write country papers, the declaration is drawn from that expertise. The presidents don't know how to do these things. Maybe they don't have the time. Maybe they know, but they don't have the time. They don't have the time to get to the bottom line of these things. But when we develop these things at the national level and then the countries come together, it becomes much easier. What I know is that the AU, that's the African Union, is already aware of the development of new technologies. And they're asking us experts, what do we do? And we are telling them the first thing we need to do is to declare a roadmap, to declare our intent, to declare our concerns through a declaration by the AU. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are here, and I know you are here with expertise, I want to call upon you through your regulators, through your policymakers, to contribute towards this. That effort is being coordinated by the AU, the ATU, the African Telecommunication Union. And it will be helpful if we can get it out as soon as possible.
Thank you very much, Simon. I think to some extent, they provided some answers. But what briefly I want to add to it is that regulators and the government will do their part. Bringing some of the meetings, some of the ITU meetings to this very one to Nigeria, for instance, is an opportunity to bring some of these things closer to us. Mostly it's incumbent on us now also to take it up, and then whatever we can do from it, we should also do our part. For instance, it was indicated how contributions from developing countries is a bit limited. I see you have a lot of expertise in the area. Perhaps in the next study meeting, we will see a contribution from you, raising some of the issues that you are doing. And then, Simon, we also have to also kind of stress on our members who participate in ITU also that they should try and also bring in the right people. I know that in circles, it tends to be a concern. So if the people who have the right base in the subject area, their contributions becomes a bit quality. Thank you very much. Marco, are you still there?
Yeah, I want just to say 10 seconds, one point. As you just highlighted now, in fact, beyond what can be done at the African Union, these problems are general problems across the world, not only for Africa. So it's a good opportunity that, in fact, your voice is listened at the appropriate time. And now we are really at the appropriate time. We are preparing the next study period. The different study group are discussing questions. There can be recommendation from TSAC, there can be recommendation from the WTSA. We can impact the program of the study group. So please bring your voice about ethical and security for AI among what is already done in more specific place when we talk about AI for smart cities or when we talk about AI for networks. And just among different initiatives, there is even a last one. Last week, there was a consultation meeting quite restricted, but this will maybe follow up with activity in Geneva about AI and data commons. So there is a lot of things that can be done across different domains of application of AI. Among them, there may be common requirements for security and privacy and ethical aspects. So please consider the opportunity of the worldwide objective of ITUT to to bring the input from Africa, you will be listened. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for Marco for helping us with this presentation. Marco, thank you very much. So we'll move on quickly to our next presentation, where we're going to look at some of the global updates in machine learning and artificial intelligence. But for such a presentation, who is a better positioned to help us, especially identify some of the opportunities for Africa, than somebody who actually has registered a lot of patents, has so many patents also pending, than Vishnu Ram. If I should briefly say this, I joined SG13 just last year. I used to be part of SG17. And then on the 2 occasions I went for meeting, one of the questions, anytime I enter there, there's this only one gentleman sitting at the front doing all the contributions. He's very experienced, over 21 years, has served in so many advisory capacities in terms of standards. We have Vishnu Ram, who is going to take us through in the next presentation. Vishnu, are you hearing us?
Yes, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. You're on.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. My name is Vishnu. I know you are late for lunch. Thank you so much for staying back and giving me this opportunity. And also, I thank the organizers and my colleagues in Africa for giving me this opportunity. I also want to add one line of to the introduction. I am a mentor for Nigeria for the students program, along with Professor James, who you saw yesterday from FUT Minna. It has been a pleasure and honor working with Nigeria. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this, I regret very much not coming there. I should have been there physically, but unfortunately, due to current travel situation, I'm not able to come. But I have been tracking from the last 2 days what is happening there through video, and I will be quoting very much from the presentations that has been happening, and it has been quite exciting, the presentations that we have gone through. I'm going to give you an update about the world of AI and ML in 5G. This work has been done mostly under focus group machine learning in 5G. Here is my email ID and contact. If you want, you can just write to me and I will give you all the details. So far, we have been hearing about collaboration, participation, and so on. My intent is to tell you what collaboration we can do together and how we can do it together. In some sense, it is complementary to Charles. So Charles talked to you about National Secretariat and so on. Here, I will talk about the technical details, what you could potentially do together. My network is also Airtel network. So my slides may change slowly. You should bear with me. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is to complementary to Marco just now explained to you the formal output of the focus group. This is the informal output. What we have been doing in the outside world so far in 2019. We have given 3 focus group machine learning 5G workshops. Charles is there. You know more about it than me. But these 3 focus group machine learning 5G workshops, in addition to that, we have given the following workshop presentations. That is, in China, we gave, in the invitation of Chinese government, we gave 5G Innovation Park. CTOs we have given for China, Japan, Korea, Budapest ITU CTO presentation. In Dubai, we had a 5G with Etisalat and Du. In New Delhi, we had presentation with TSDSI. This is the standardization body in India. In Berlin, we gave a presentation with Fraunhofer Focus regarding 5G and machine learning. These were the outreach presentations in addition to the focus group machine learning 5G workshops that we did. Open source has been a focus. These Linux Foundation AI projects, we are involved now. ZTE is our champion there. We are involved in projects to push the standardization, implementation of the standards that we do in ITU, adapt it to the open source and make sure it sees the light of the day. We also gave two technical advisory council presentations. Applied machine learning days in Lausanne in Switzerland. We gave a network track presentation and panel discussions. Academic papers are on the way. And also we have student projects including 5 countries, including Nigeria, 15 or more students and 9 contributions so far. We are actively in liaison with other bodies, CGSM, ENI, MPEG Group, ORAN, IRTF. We are also talking to other groups like IEEE, within ITU and so on. The figure above, which shows you our progress from different meetings, the 1, 2, 3, 4 shows you the meeting numbers. We have use cases for machine learning in 5G that Marco already talked to you about. We have architecture that Marco talked to you about. We talked about extensions to data handling, evaluation, and so on. And now we are now analyzing the gaps and outreach. This is where we are. Just to call out a little bit of why I am showing you this slide, it is to bring to you that we would like to carry your voice through these presentations. These are ways in which ITU carries regional voice also. So we would like to carry the voice of Africa, about the colleagues there. This, by the way, includes the student contributions from Nigeria, but we would like to expand our footprint. We would like to carry your positions along with this. This is the outreach that we do. Now, let us go to the next slide, please. I am going to talk about 5 opportunities. This is the first opportunity, number 1, that you see here in this slide. This is about to tell you that we have currently the use cases that Marco just now explained to you. It is a supplement Y.3170 series that is already published, and we have it in ITU. But also, we see from the outreach which we have done just the previous slide, also from interaction with other bodies, we see that it is just the tip of the iceberg. We see that the regional use cases are not particularly focused upon. We would like your help to include the regional use cases. I know about Simon's presentation coming next, which will talk about the use cases. Those are good candidates. We would like to have those incorporated into the use cases, ITU use cases. Another thing to note here is the prescriptive way of use cases, how we specify the use cases. This is a technical aspect. Let me come to that in a little bit. The challenge here in the middle, which you see here, is a low priority which we give for regional use cases. We see this not bubbling up. The regional use cases are not bubbling up. We would like to have that. What is the opportunity for Africa? What would you like to do? What would we like you to do? Is the help that we need is automated template-based capturing of AI ML use cases to include the representative use cases. Now let us come to below, the points below. 3172 includes intent. Marco told you about this just now, that intent mechanism. It is used for capturing AI ML use cases in 5G. Specifically, this document is published already. It is a specification from ITU. You can already look at how this is done. African academics and industry should take leadership. We would like to see this leadership in implementing this intent-based ML mechanism. It is not done anywhere else in the world so far. Documentation will influence the ITU standards and further help you to lead the world of AI and ML. What is the immediate next step? Just form a working group, start the use case collection and documentation using ITU standard. Next slide, please. So this slide tells you about the second opportunity that we see. We already, Marco already introduced you to the sandbox. He talked to you about the sandbox. This is based upon that. Marco told you about 3174 specification. This is based upon that. Just to step back a little bit, right? Last week we had applied machine learning days. I told you about it. Edward Snowden was one of the speakers in that conference. The main point which he brought out was data collection is the problem. Data privacy is not the problem. Data collection is the problem. We would like to address that particular problem. It is tedious, it violates privacy in many cases, and it is not interoperable. This is the current situation. No implementation of interoperable standards. This is the challenge right now. What is the opportunities for Africa here? Regional, temporal, anonymized, open data sets. This is what we would like you to develop, help to develop, and then regional, private, secure data sets. These are two different things. Two different things. Open data sets and secure private data sets. We already heard Dr. Mustafa talk to us from NCC yesterday for the comment to my boys, my students. We talked about it to generate data sets. I completely agree with him. We should put those data sets into two categories, open and secure data sets. 3174 includes data handling. Regional data sets will unlock the spark of AI ML usage in the local industry. This is for your benefit. It is for the regional benefit that we are talking about. What is the immediate next step? Contribute the data sets and tools for ITU Africa ML Sandbox. ML Sandbox, already Marco told you about it. It is already specified. It is an ITU recommendation. 3172 and 3174 talks about this, recommends this, and we would like to set up ITU Africa ML Sandbox. Next slide, please. This is the third opportunity. What is the opportunity here? Let me just step back, okay? When I talk to colleagues in Europe and US, they talk about 1 million GPU cores, 1 million for training of AI ML algorithms, 1 million. For my AI ML student projects, I use 16 cores, 16 cores. Just imagine 1 million NVIDIA GPU cores versus 16 cores. This is the difference that we are talking about. We need a distributed architecture. We need a way in which we can collaborate, we can have a chain of machine learning with large number of cores, large number of data sets to host these algorithms. It is not possible for developing countries, emerging countries. India is one among them. Africa, there are many countries among this category. Emerging countries, large, huge underwater data centers are not for us. We need distributed machine learning architecture. We would like the opportunity to be taken for African machine learning chain, where we create a chain of machine learning solutions for regional problems according to ITU standards. 3172 already talks to you about distributed machine learning chains. It is specified there. Implementation of this Pan-African chain of machine learning solutions will be the first in the world. Immediate next step, identify connected grid of hosting centers. We will help you to implement the chains interfaces. Next slide, please. Can we go to opportunity number 4, please? Can you hear me now? Thank you so much for the feedback. Opportunity number 4. This is to talk about test cases. Okay, the test cases form the backbone of the data that we collect. How do we verify the data that you collect, whether it is biased or not? Based on the test cases. No work on regional test cases or KPIs. This is all the current work is based upon the global KPIs. We would like test cases and procedures for regional machine learning models. 3173, Marco told you about it already, includes evaluation mechanisms for intelligence level, testing, evaluation, benchmarking of AI ML 5G should be done in regional labs according to regional KPIs. This is something really important. Immediate next step is to form a working group for studying the test cases according to regional needs. Next slide, please. Thank you. This is a big problem. Current machine learning models are definitely biased. I was told about this many times in our outreach. Many times we have seen this feedback coming from different bodies, standardization bodies themselves, academias who talk to us that machine learning models are biased currently. Availability of training data and trained machine learning models is a problem right now. Opportunity is to set up African machine learning marketplace which will help the local needs. ITU machine learning marketplace, Marco told you about this already. This is a current work item. It includes mechanism to select, train, and deploy models. This coming back to once again to the point that Dr. Mustafa told you just now in the question. Why do we take backseat? Why do we not lead the opportunity that is here? We have an opportunity here. Create an instance of machine learning marketplace in Africa. Immediate next step. Next slide, please. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Marco. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah. Sorry about that. Bad connection.
Sorry.
Engaging with the ITU for machine learning in 5G. Let me tell you about this. We are trying to create an ecosystem. Okay, we are trying to create an ecosystem which includes other parties, different pre-standard work. This is two opportunities that I would like to talk to you about: ITU AI Challenge and student work. The ITU AI Challenge is spread over 9 months in 2020. That is starting next month, and we are bringing participants from all member countries. We would like Africa to be there. 4 tracks, 2 rounds, 1 conference. This is the aim of this AI Challenge. Apply machine learning using standards, encourage open source, and we mentor students. This is for student participants. Apart from that, I would like to tell you a story briefly. I met my great colleague and supporter, my friend Fidel. You know him as Dr. Fidel Izona. I met him 1 year back in Zimbabwe. I requested him to help this student project as a pilot. We discussed in Zimbabwe that this is an opportunity for emerging countries because developed countries already get this kind of projects and feedback and guidance for university students. But he helped me to kick off this as a student project, and we now have pilot with 5 countries, 15 students, and 9 contributions. We have letters of appreciation for student contributions. This includes from Nigeria. Also, I'm really happy to tell you 75% of these students are girls. Okay, 75% are girls. Next slide, please. This tells you the references. This is my last slide. It tells you all that you need, including you can see number 8, which talks about how to engage students. It talks about number 9 talks about global challenge. You can click on this, access Otherwise, we have our vice chair right there. Charles is there. We have Tatiana there. We have Shaba there. Please talk to any of them. They will help you access these documents. Once again, thank you so much for inviting me. Sorry about the bad connection from Airtel. Also, we are, just to add, we have weekly e-meetings. You are most welcome to participate via weekly e-meetings of the focus group. We have, I have weekly meetings with the students as mentor, as I am a mentor for Africa. So I will do e-meetings with the students, including the ones from Nigeria. I would also like to add my another point about my humble invite to WTSA in India. It is not in my place, but it is 1 hour away. I would like to see you there on behalf of all your colleagues and friends in India. I would like to add my humble invite. Once again, thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Vishnu. So we'll proceed with any questions or contributions from the audience so that we move quickly. Look as if our lunch. Simon.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vishnu. My name is Simon Bugaba. I think we have remotely or from distance communicated. I remember you did a noble job of collecting start use cases from Africa, and we generated a list which I'm going to present in a short while. But I wanted to know the next steps because we never at least got to see or to understand what exactly came up. I really want to appreciate you for guiding us that there is a format that's included, that's been produced, but I would like to know how to move forward because this is a point where most of the use cases from Africa die. We don't know how to take them beyond that point. Thank you if you could help us.
Dr. Vishnu, can you hear us? Dr. Ram, are you there? No.
Thank you. I was unmuted by the host. Yes. So thank you so much for that question, Simon. Yes, of course, I've met you. The last we met in Geneva, we discussed about exactly this meeting. But also, to answer your question, we would like to take it in two ways. The list that you have kindly compiled with all the inputs from African delegates, we would like to approach it in two ways. One is opportunity number one that I talked to you about, that is to compile the use cases, introduce it in the form of intent so that we can develop architecture changes if at all needed based on it, test cases based on it, and data based on it. This is and machine learning models based on it. This is what we would like to do in opportunity number one. That is for use cases specifically. But I would also encourage similarly for the AI challenge because I would refer back to the chair of the session, Mr. Kwako, from Ghana. He told us about the need for an ecosystem. I completely agree with it. I think that the AI challenge is a very good way of developing this kind of ecosystem, energizing this kind of ecosystem around AI and machine learning for 5G. I would totally encourage to present this kind of use cases in the form of challenges so that other entities, for example, students, industry, partners, researchers across the world can solve these problems for you specifically, using customized solutions, including those from Africa and from other parts of the world. Let us collaboratively solve these problems. That is my suggestion. That is regarding the AI challenge. These are the two opportunities that we would have right now for these use cases that we have compiled. Once again, I will ask for collaboration to do these two opportunities. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Okay. Yes, Dr. Ona.
Okay. My name is Fidelis Ona, Dr. Fidelis Ona. Dr. Vishnu, we thank you very much. I want to sincerely appreciate what you did to the students. They made a presentation yesterday, and their presentation was quite fine. The very impressive aspect of it is that it had a lot of local impression, and that was quite fine. I'm relieved also to hear that you're starting a new program by next month or thereabout. And I would like to ask, because there are a couple of other universities and students who may want to join the program. And then also, these other students, can they still join it? But in essence, your initiative to include the developing countries in this program is highly appreciated. I want to thank you once more.
Thank you, Fidel. I don't think this would have been possible without you and the support of Professor James Zagayo from Mina. We would like to thank this, but I would like to tell you something. This involves a lot of commitment from the student side as well as the university side. How much of funding do you think these students have? Zero. They have zero funding. They have spent their own money to buy the Raspberry Pi that they talked to you about the video they have set up. Raspberry Pi has been couriered by Professor James to their homes because they were in vacation. They have spent their money. They have zero funding, but still it shows the commitment from the university and the country to lead this opportunity that we have given them. Technically, yes, we have given them guidance. Yes, we mentored them about IMT 2020. We gave them the problem statement, but the work is completely driven by them. The complete of credit goes to those students and the professors. We would, of course, welcome other universities. Please point them to me, or Shaba is there. You could point them to her. She will coordinate this activity of bringing in more universities with us. We think that this is a great opportunity for collaboration. Thank you so much once again for your support.
Thank you very much. I think because we are a bit, okay, all right. Engineer, Asadu.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Let me join Felix Sonna in also thanking you, Dr. Ram. Are you still there? Hello?
Yes, of course, Charles.
I'm here. I'm joining Fidelis Sonna in thanking you in all your efforts. Please, I want you to clarify something again, because there's indication that the China meeting, Beijing meeting, the venue may change, and if you have any idea, particularly the new venue and the time, please inform us. Again, I want also a way whereby the e-meetings can be made public to, many people are indicating interest in joining the meetings or the focus group meetings. So if they can be enlightened on the e-meetings dates and strategies, that will be also highly appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charles, for bringing this point. Yes, e-meetings are open. You could make it public. You could be our contact point there. You are, of course, our great point of support. It could be made public. Shaba is there. You could ask her about the bridge that we use, and you could subscribe to the email list. That will help you to join the e-meetings. It is a best starting point. the first and best starting point for collaborating with the ITU focus group for machine learning. The secondly, about the next meeting, China will not happen, as you might have guessed. I think we are still searching for a venue. That is again an opportunity for Africa. but of course, you could talk to Reinhard. Tatiana is there. You could talk to her. We are currently looking for a venue. As far as I know, we have not confirmed any venue so far. But you could talk to Tatiana and Reinhard about it. It is, of course, an opportunity, and it is a pleasure to come to Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vishnuram. I think because of the time constraint and the way the last presentation is standing in the way of people's lunch, Simon, you don't need any introduction. No. You all know him already. The chairman of the African group at the study group 13.
Thank you very much, sir.
Dr. Ram.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I have never presented in my life around this time when you're standing between yourself and lunch. But believe you me, I understand the feeling. Even me, I have a stomach like you. So I'm going to do myself a favor. I'm not doing you a favor. I will do myself a favor. I'll try to be very quick. Like he said, my intention through this presentation is really to bring to your attention the initial use cases or challenges that we have presented on behalf of you, Africa, countries, to the groups that are working with AI and machine learning. So the intention for me is for you to look at them, and I'm very happy we have a good representation of universities here. And Dr. Vishnu has given us a way out that these should be taken up as challenges the university can work with for their students to research. And then for us ITU technocrats, we can take them up and try to address them through standardization. So really this is my intention. It's not a technical presentation. It's really some kind of informative. The other use for this presentation is so that you can get excited and add on the list, because the list is endless. So these are the we had an opportunity, we had a call engineered by Dr. Vishnu, if we could generate. We already had the idea, but we didn't have somebody to organize us. So he called us. So through a group of us who meet under question 5, and I encourage you to meet, we came up with some of the use cases list that I want to go through. It's just a list that should interest you. It's not the beginning, it's not the end. If you look at food security, that's one area where we looked. That's something that interests us, our issues. Remember, a gentleman yesterday said that there are some parts of our continent which do not have power, so we cannot talk of these things. But I guess machine learning can give us a better utilization of our little resources so that it can go around. Public utilities, we can employ ML and environmental. So let me just click this so that you can see. We are proposing some cases in water conservation, climate change, tourism and wildlife and protection. You know this is a growing area for Africa especially. It's a cash cow for us now. Many people come to see the animals that we have. But can we use these new technologies to make the experience even much better? I know some guys who come to see mountain gorillas in our country. They spend their money and they go away without seeing anything because they did not converse with the animals to determine exactly where the animals will be. So if they have booked for 3 days, for 3 days the animals take another route, and their 3 days are over and their money is gone. So we can make their experiences much richer. Tunisia has moved, and along with other countries, And this, I wanted to bring this with the permission of Tunisia. It was submitted by a colleague of ours, Dr. Rim from Tunisia. She gave us examples of what is happening. Reason I'm putting this up is that this is for us in our countries to start. We don't have to wait for I don't know what, but we can start where we are. Tunisia is ranked 54th in the world, so there is already a ranking. Are you ranked? Are you doing anything in a way of ranking? Are you being picked up? Are you on the horizon of machine learning and artificial intelligence? Some of the countries that are doing something, I mentioned them not to brag, but I mentioned them so that you can maybe make contact with them and try to get information from them. We have Kenya in the East Africa, we have Mauritius down there, we have South Africa, we have Ghana and Tunisia. These countries have got activities in machine learning and artificial intelligence that has world stage. So we need to look at them. What are they doing? What are they doing right? That we also can follow. Since 2018, way back, a process started and they developed a national strategy for artificial intelligence. These are some of the things that these countries do. They have a national strategy. Everybody can be doing things but following their own strategy. A national strategy becomes important as far as this is. It's been proven that it's very effective. The government created a task force. That doesn't cost a lot of money. We had a gentleman here who is leading the Nigerian group. I think this can go there. Task force to oversee this strategy. And some enterprises will then be encouraged to start implementing some of these small solutions that are related to artificial intelligence and machine learning. What I like about this is that they do not fear to start where they are and to solve their problems. Some of these are typical things that we can use. They look small, but they are interesting, and any one of us can solve the problems because the problems look quite common. CBEX, for example, they have developed an intelligent system to improve agriculture production, but by rationalizing the use of resource, water, and fertilizers. All of us have this problem. We can do something there. iFarming, they have a program that is intelligent enough to deal with the issues of irrigation, measure soil moisture, air temperature. Small, but answering the issues that we are dealing with, grappling with, and being relevant to the country. InstaDeep, delivery of AI-powered decision-making systems for enterprises to tackle most of the challenges that they have. Hexastack, providing solution to create and manage chatbots. Enova Robotics, designing, manufacturing, marketing mobile robots in the field of security and health and logistics. Novelty, development of IoT production for the localization of indoor robots. Paybos, development of innovative electronic banking solutions. What I like about these are day-to-day problems, and they have decided to start using machine learning and artificial intelligence to solve them. They are not very far away from us, I mean the problems, so we need to give them to our students to start thinking maybe they can develop solutions that are with us. The last one I want to deal with is for Tunisia Telecom. He's an operator like many of you guys are here. Use AI solutions in their marketing and planning activities. This helps to segment their customers. This is something that is very close to home, so we can very easily align with it. So the question for us is, as I end, if machine learning, if ML is machine learning, then all African languages are going to be included or taken care of. These are some of the things we need to think about even as we go forward. Somebody asked me a question, is machine learning, which language is machine learning going to be? It was the philosophical question. Which language is machine learning going to be? If it's learning, machines are going to learn. They are going to learn in which language? Chances are, prediction, One of them is going to be Chinese, another one is going to be English, another one is going to be French, another one will be Spanish, another one will be Russian, another one will be, what, Swahili? No, the challenge for us is that we need to start thinking from our countries. If machine learning is really going to be machines learning, then there need to be machines that are going to learn your language and to work in your language and to work in your environment. So machine learning, much as it's out there, it is also here. We need to think of solutions that are homegrown. That's what that question is all about. Machine learning, artificial intelligence and machine learning must use data necessarily. Everybody has said that. Then the question comes, where are the servers, processors going to be located? Are they going to be in Abuja? Are they going to be in New York? Or are they going to be in Beijing? I think the suitable answer should be, we need to start locating some of these things here. Because, like the gentleman said, that there is a lot of data that's going to be generated. A lot of local data is going to be generated. So are you going to import all that data and send it for somebody to keep for you in New York? And you think in this day and age they're going to keep it for you free of charge? And then when they misuse it, one of these days you come complaining that they're misusing my data? So I think this question begs for solutions that are homegrown. There are more possible use cases which need to be listed, and I did mention this long ago. One of the issues, one of the reasons I'm presenting this is really to motivate you to start thinking, how can we use machine learning? Machine learning and artificial intelligence will be helpful in many developing countries' situations. We have seen the case of Tunisia and other developing countries need to start the policy development. A lot of the problems that we get is because they are not guided. Things start small there and they are distributed. So they all go in their own direction. And by the time you want to harass them, you are actually just killing businesses, but you didn't guide them in the beginning. So I want to call upon the regulators and the government people here to take the lead and at least put policies and strategies in place so that the innovators can be guided. Developing countries need to prioritize participation in artificial intelligence and machine learning. Engineer Chike, everybody has called on to that. Gentlemen and ladies, there's simply no other way we are going to learn about these things apart from interacting with the people who are talking about these things. That's the fastest way, especially at our age. I can see all of you are above 18 with guarantee and certainty. Past 18, studies have shown that the best way you learn is not by reading so many books. It's by interacting with the people who speak and actually demonstrate that which you want to learn. With that, I want to thank you very much for your attention and wish you good luck as you machine learn and artificial intelligence. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Simon, for the excellent presentation and how you've managed to make it brief. I mean, the takeaway for me goes to the regulators. We should start with our strategies now. Give ourselves some time and then expect that maybe some few years from now, we will not be repeating the same problems, same challenges, the same issues. We have been able to solve some of our problems. Then the country experience also. We said 45 countries so far have reported. But indeed, with some of the experience with ITU, you'll be surprised some countries are doing some few things. But because they normally do not report it, they are not accounted for properly. Time is fast spent. I would like to take the opportunity to express our sincere gratitude to the presenters who have managed to address some of these issues for us. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I know we've gone late. We've passed the time for the lunch, but in view of the fact that we had a very late tea break, I would like to suggest if we can take this last presentation so that by the time we come back from the lunch, it is only the panel discussion and we wrap up. Is it something palatable? Can we go with this? Because all the presenters are local, and then we will appeal to them to rush it and summarize their presentation so that we do away with all presentations. When we come back, we'll only do a panel discussion and wrap up the workshop. If that is taken, I would like to invite the moderator for this session, Mr. Simon. Thank you.
I have the unfortunate pleasure of coming back before you again. I thought we would be going for lunch, but here we are. Okay, we'll try to hurry up. The next presenter has been here before. Is our own vice chairperson of Cell Group 13, Engineer Dr. Fidelis. He's one person I've worked with, very consistent, and he loves Africa. The floor is yours, sir. You know what you're doing. We are between us and lunch. So, please.
Thank you, Simon. I think you did a good thing, only because I have the unfortunate period of always presenting immediately after lunch. And even myself will be dozing. But sometimes I like it because no question, nothing. So, as the case is, I want to stand on existing protocol, and I want to thank you for introducing me. Did you say I have up to 30 minutes? Okay, can you fire on, please? Okay. The paper is about facilitating smart Africa on the platform of 5G. Somebody mentioned Smart Africa. Smart Africa is an initiative for digitizing Africa. So with the 5G that is about the corner, how can we leverage on this very platform? Next slide, please. Oh, not digital, eh? Okay. So the first thing I needed to just say, since it's Smart Africa, for us to just go through a bit fast about what is Africa. Africa has about 54 countries. The population is about 1.34 billion. It's a good place. It has very good arable land and very rich mineral resources, mostly farmers and herdsmen, non-mechanized with non-mechanized tools. The rural areas, unfortunately, are classified to be economically and commercially unviable. It has areas of underdeveloped, or undeveloped, and altogether you can call it developed. It's placed in a place that it enjoys a lot of solar energy, but all of them wasted. Then it has a serious political problem because the countries are politically fragmented, as structured by the then colonial masters. Also, he has problem of self-inflicted jet lag. And it is what we have been talking about. So the challenge is mostly political, and then the very serious crisis we have. It has also funding issues. But there are countries that are very rich, and yet they don't have those, they don't have the endowment of those natural resources as Africa has. So you can see the kind of self-inflicted jet lag we are talking about. So you see many of them, their economy, they are based on maybe manufactured goods and something they can sell. So maybe we shouldn't be having that funding crisis. Policy instability. We have energy crisis amidst so much wasted energy. We have human capital issues. But when you go out to these developed countries, you can find a lot of people of African descent excelling. Yet, we are bereft of these good hands at home. So, our education, health, we know what these things are. Then, we have low fixed line coverage and fiber. Many people, even in the US, have almost migrated. The fixed line is descending. But we now have issues that for you to get very massive bandwidth, it has to be fiber. So there is that kind of mobile fixed line convergence. The spectrum utilization also, we have very inefficient one. We don't have intra and inter-regional connectivity. We have issues of infrastructural development. Then there are those ones that we have as dividing and uniting factors. When we say, maybe I should start with dividing factors. We know in Africa we have sub-regions. We have West Africa, we have North Africa, we have this and that. Sometimes we find that certain things that we should harness the resources together, we pay more allegiance to our different sub-regional groups. And then also, there's another one again dissecting that, and that is our lingual and our colonial master backbone. We have the Arabophones, those ones that are inclined to Arab. We have Anglophones, those are inclined to the English-speaking countries. You find that sometimes these factors also play a role, or the Francophone, or we have the Hispaphone, those that are Spanish, or Lusophone, those that are Portuguese. Unfortunately, Africa was colonized by so many. And at very critical issues, you find that there may be some of our force, some of these countries lean back to their colonial master dictation, even though there may not be, very good relationship may not exist between them, but at critical time that we are supposed to harness our resources together, we lean back to them. So of course, politics too. But the uniting factor is a very good one, like this continent. All of us, we are boxed into this big island called Africa. We share some cultural background, and we share some economic development crisis too. It was good to talk about this because it may be necessary for us to harness this. We find that sometimes when we go out on ITU representation and we require common vote, we find some of us being influenced by our colonial masters to disintegrate the vote of Africa. So the Smart Africa initiative was something that was developed in, Paul Kagame, who is the president of Rwanda, has been a very good friend of a digital movement. And there was this developed, they developed this initiative, and which was now carried by the whole African head state in their AU meeting. That is, that Africa requires to be digitized. And this has been their declaration. And in the last paragraph there, you see, we, the heads of states and governments here present, commit to the following principles. These are the manifestos and the principles that they are working on the Smart African Initiative. To put Africa at the center of our national socio-economic development agenda, to improve access to ICT, to improve accountability, to put the private sector first. Of course, you know that the public-private partnership initiative has always been very good in developing areas. And then to leverage ICT. You can see ICT. And we have 17 sustainable development goals, and all of them you can shrink them and box them into digital strategy. That is, that digital development can really achieve those goals, help us achieve the goals. The Smart Africa Initiative, it has that platform called Alliance, and it is the framework on which it should be developed. Then it has about 5 pillars, and then the enablers. The 5 pillars, as you see them, the policy access, e-economy, e-government, and then private sector, and sustainable development or something. So we have the enablers, which are innovation, communication and advocacy, capacity building, and then resource mobilization. I'm not seeing it very well here. So these are the things that we can see, and we know that with that and with the development in technology, these things can be enabled and can be achieved. So the digital transformation. And why are we talking this? We are talking this because we know the enormous potential that is embedded in 5G. So we are asking, how is it possible to, on the platform of 5G, achieve the Smart Africa? How is it possible? So, and that requires digital transformation, digital economy, smart city, smart everything, Internet of Things. Some of them are repetitive because they are related. So the implementation strategy is evolving local content, enabling national policy. That is, government has to really play a great role because they have the instrument to stifle or to enable any innovation that is coming up. So government goodwill is very, very key, the political will. So if you look at this, you see the digital economy sitting on smart economy, smart city, internet, they are all related. And somebody was asking about Industrial Revolution 4. This is just something that has been coined and taking certain stages and certain parameters. They came that we are at the 4th stage. So now digital economy. The digital economy will require legal framework. It will require infrastructures. It will require digital literacy, content, local content. This local content, everybody stresses this. And it is very necessary because you need to evolve something that will address your own problem. Just like the previous speaker said, in what language is machine learning going to be? Is it going to speak China in Nigeria? Or is it going to speak English in Cameroon or in Cote d'Ivoire? So you need to evolve something that will address your own problem. And the only way to do it is to get involved. So ICT sector is the base now. This is the way the World Bank, in a report they wrote about Nigeria Digital Economy Diagnostic Report. This is how they described what will achieve digital economy. And you could see it, digital economy is digital citizen, digital government, digital private sector, digital platform, digital entrepreneur, digital finance, digital infrastructure, digital everything. E-commerce, smart energy, energy. So and they repeated it, smart energy and digital energy. So it is a very key thing for us to really look at. The term digital economy was coined sometime in 1995 by one man that wrote a book. He called it, that is Don Tapscott. He coined it and called it digital economy, promise and peril in the age of networked intelligence. The good thing about that was that it was the first time he mentioned something about internet serving as the backbone of the economy. And that was a very big and a very huge sale because everybody wanted to see that. And then we are not surprised that what he wrote that time in 1995 is really coming to fruition now. It's impossible for you to miss your phone at home and still stay comfortably in the office. You see a lot of people, when they are not doing anything, they are fiddling with their phone, even when it is 3310. So building smart Africa requires digital inclusion. That is penetration. It requires a smart economy. It requires smart city, smart everything. And ultimately, e-governance and e-government. People would like to access government resources seamlessly. You know, people accuse government of interference. So they would like that when they want to do something, that they do it transparently and get it from what they... So e-governance and e-government should be one of the key things that should start it. Now we have digital business. As TechCrunch wrote, he said, Uber, the world's largest taxi company, owns no vehicle. Facebook does not create content. Alibaba, the most valuable retailer, has no inventory. The Airbnb, the world's largest accommodation provider, owns no real estate. So you can see the kind of transformation that is coming. So, time. Okay. So, okay. Now, the digital, these are the things that are coming up now. It is so disappointing, people feel now, if you have an e-transaction and it fails, you want to transfer money and it fails. So, and we have not gone halfway in our dependence on e-transaction. So digital inclusion is full access, is full adoption and application, reaching out to everybody. So the smart system, you know, people call smart system, smartphone, smart this. It is the application of great sensors sensing what we have, and then sending it to somewhere, the actuator, and then control. So these are the kind of thing, when you see the economy or anything being smart, it means that thing is really intelligent or a bit agile. So in smart cities, we will have a lot of intelligence, a lot of sensors everywhere. Like they spoke yesterday, it does not mean that, of course, some people will lose jobs, but it does not mean that jobs will not be there. And it does not mean that the engineers will lose their job. It is just that the class of work has changed. If you are not the one that is updating yourself, sorry for you, because the class will change. And this time, because if you are talking of artificial intelligence, it's high-class knowledge. It is not just the street knowledge. So you must have to update yourself. This is smart city. Everything is internet-worked. There are some dimensions of smart city. And then we know that in smart city, you talk of both energy, transportation, and all. Now the 5G that we want to use as the platform, the 5G, we know all the kind of things that will benefit from 5G. It is innovative, it has speed, it has low latency, it has adaptability. Maybe because of this licensing now, the issue of, the lease line thing has gone before. Maybe it's going to come back because assuming I have my house in Lagos, I have one in Abuja, and I have one probably in Enugu, and they are having cameras, and I want to monitor them. I can as well go to one of these operators and then get a leased circuit from them that can network these places for me. You know, the CUG, the closed user group, is just over the air and is just classifying different people. Not that it does not guarantee the circuit. So now that we have that convergence and it's making it very inevitable, we would need to really look at that too. There is no time. We saw this thing yesterday. It's an ITU publication, ITU RM2083, this version 1. These are the things that enable the network to do. Now, collaboration about nations. When we talk about Africa, in fact, I would like to ask Simon, I don't know why we don't have the presence of ATU here, because ATU seems to have a lot to do with the ITUR. But ITUT, where we have issues, they don't show presence. And if we are talking of free roaming, if we are talking of interconnectivity, if we are talking of continental clearinghouse, it is ITUT. And therefore, they're supposed to be present here. Maybe you should take it up with them. And you can see, in Lisbon, that was 2015, these groups, 5G Forum, 5G, let me get their names fully. The 5G Forum is the South Korean group that was working on enabling the 5G. We have the Europe has their own, which is the 5G Infrastructure Association. We have the one from Japan, 5G mobile communication. From China, we have 5G promotion. From US, we have, that is America, we have 4G, 5G Americans. And these people were ensuring that these things grow in their areas. There is none in Africa. Nobody is moving for such in Africa. And they are sharing, they have a memorandum of understanding, they share information, and they have advanced so much. And from what the feedback we are getting, they have already even started the 6G. So Africa really needs to develop well. When we look at these OTT, Skype, WhatsApp, Viber, Kakao, you can see different countries that develop them. But out of all of them, the most successful has been like the WhatsApp, Skype, and those ones that are inclined to be in the US. This is because the kind of environment in the US supports that. So if we are to develop our own, we will need to be sure that our own kind of environment supports the business model. WhatsApp does not sell anything except adverts. So if we are to develop it here in Africa, what kind of platform is going to be that can sustain it? But we know we can sustain it. We know there can be something that will sustain it. All other ones that didn't have this kind of background failed. All of them failed. Like, have you heard about IMO before? IMO is only restricted in Cuba. WeChat, yes, we use it in China. But outside that, people, unless you want to connect to somebody in China. So when people restrict access to this thing in their place, they are not restricting access because it is inimical to the economy. They are restricting access because they want to develop their own. They want it. But then the business model they have behind them will not sustain it. Korea has problem with that their own. Cacao. They had problem because when it was developed by the operators there, sustainability became a problem. So we will need to see how we can do our own with local content and how we can do it. So we create that kind of enabling environment, laws, and Africa, like we said, it has that number. And not only number, what is making America great is because America is unity in diversity. And imagine Africa, America is not as diversified as Africa. So if we are to unite, the limit is limitless, how we can advance. So, and we can achieve economies of scale, we can develop our own business model, and we can do a lot of things. And this Smart Africa will be a foregone issue. So the 5G we are talking about in leading Smart Africa is because it's smart. It supports e-government and e-governance. I see Simon is standing up, and I'm also leaving. But I don't want to leave until I finish the last slide. So it supports a lot of things that will enable the Smart Africa. So these are some of the things, what I'm skipping here are what we have heard and heard several times. So we need adequate spectrum. We need to build enough cell sites. That is because it requires serious densification. We need to be sure that everything, even the backbone, is enough. These are some of the things that governments require to do. A government website should be online, full-time. And then there must be human resource development, energy. We have enough. And then literacy, computer literacy. Collaboration with outside is very key. And then we develop our own peculiar features that will address our problem. Here we have a list of what Nigeria has done in trying to achieve this. Recently, they launched a digital economy policy. That was last year. The minister spoke about it yesterday. And in fact, to address this, the Ministry of Communication changed this name from Ministry of Communication to Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy. So we want to see what that will be. These are some of the gaps that we notice now that also need to be addressed. And then the local content, when we say local content, people think it is utopia. Even the government structure is peculiar. The culture and tradition, the educational system, our agricultural terrain, mode, and social life, local products, capacity to locally manufacture equipment, and all these things. The digital money in Kenya may not work in Nigeria. So these are the things that we need to address. The infrastructure, access, gateways. I have advocated that we should have African gateway. So future action. It has been even spoken several times, enabling environment and policies and regulations. In conclusion, Simon, thank you. 5G features allow flexibility and adaptability. Any country that does not see the reality of transforming to e-governance and the ultimate e-government will be forced to do it at a much higher cost. Achieving a strong e-government in Africa and successful implementation of Smart Africa effective e-government is not something you just do in one day. It is something that you need to do gradually. Thank you and God bless. You put me to.
Thank you very much. What I know is that the education sector and the ICT sector are losing somebody to the political. Yeah, you look like you're going to the politics. I'm only waiting to see politics. You mentioned so many things, but I'm missing the politics. I don't know the next presenter that very well. I must be honest. We are meeting, I think, for the second time. So I want to call him up to come here. He's somebody who looks like we can get along very well. But I'll tell you after he has presented. So the next presenter is Mr. Lee from Ghana. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Can you please upload? Thank you. My name is Isaac Lai, and I'm from Ghana. And I'm here to share some few experiences on some of the things that we've done that we feel is going to leverage on the upcoming technologies that we've been talking about. From the look of things, some of Nigeria's problems or their initiatives are, I think we have very similar. Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay. Yeah, it looks like we have very similar issues, so we have to address them. So without wasting much time, I'll just go straight to my presentation. So like I said, I'm coming to talk about some of the experience and success story from Ghana. So first of all, I'll look at some of the key initiatives that the government is trying to look at. The government is actually looking at capacity building. This has been clearly expatiated in the earlier presentation. So the government is looking at building human and institutional capacity to ensure that Ghana has the means to develop fully in the ICT sector. Also, the government is looking at developing a broadband infrastructure that has to support the achievement of the universal access. Then the government is also looking at securing a cyberspace and creating a safe environment to use the internet to benefit the citizens. Then it's also coming up with policies and regulatory framework in order to facilitate the sub-region and the regional integration, like the One Network, the free roaming, things that we are all expecting. So to go to specifics, these are some of the few things that the government has actually initiated and it's working. We currently have the drone delivery service by ZipNet. This is a service that allows medical practitioners to be able to send medicine from inland or from the big cities to remote areas or underserved areas. One very A big example is the blood. We have a national blood bank sitting in the capital, and sometimes it's very difficult to transport blood from the capital city to the hinterland. So this drone delivery system has come to kind of solve that problem. So in most cases, mostly it's the blood that they use to transport to the remote areas or the underserved areas. We also have the smart metering system. Most of the utility agencies in Ghana has adopted this smart metering system. For instance, like the Ghana Water Company has this smart metering system, and it's fitted with sensors, and then it can detect leakages, and then it can also detect illegal connection and things like that. So we are trying to be smart. Okay. Yeah, another system that is currently ongoing is a digital port system. Some time back, we used to have, when you import things into the country, it takes ages to clear your stuff. But now we have the digital port system, and it has actually reduced the time to clear your stuff from the port. It used to be like over sometimes two months to clear very simple stuff, but now within a day or two, you should be able to clear your stuff from the port. And then we also have the intelligent transport system. This is a new system that is undergoing, it's undergoing tests and discussions. And this is a system that is going to take traffic information and keep it on a database, probably inland or on a cloud. Then there will be some kind of app that people can access to check on the ticketing. They can check on users can also check on the traffic in the capital city or wherever it's fitted. We can also use it for road safety campaigns and things like that. So this is a system that actually the government is trying to talk to investors to invest in this kind of system in the capital city. At the regulatory standpoint, the regulator has actually established a 5G study group, an in-house 5G study group. The study group is actually, one of the TORs of the study group is to kind of study how the pricing of spectrum. So the group is actually looking at best practices and how other countries are preparing, or other countries are pricing their spectrum. And the group has also identified some key spectrum for 5G. That's after WRC 2019. We have identified some spectrum that we'll be using for 5G. Then we have also established and currently working conformance labs. We have 3 labs at the moment. That's a specific absorption rate lab that kind of tests the absorption rates between the human and the devices. We also have the RF and signaling lab that is used to test the sensitivity of the devices. Then we also have the EMF lab. It's used to test the emissions from the telephone mast. So these are labs that are currently working, and we hope that when a lot of devices are being used now, we can all test. This is actually it's for type approval, so we can test the effect of fake phones in the country. Then we also have the unified license. I saw from the internet that Nigeria has the unified license already in operation, but we are yet to operationalize it. So it's actually to converge both the fixed and the mobile service licenses into one license. Then there's also the universal access license, and this has always been a success. At least it has helped us to be able to extend mobile telephony to underserved areas. So these are some of the frequencies that we have identified. We actually did studies in some of them, simulations. We have not done any trial yet, but we are still waiting and hoping that one of the operators will come for trial. But we have identified our spectrum for 5G and all that. So there's 24 gigahertz that MTN was using. We've actually migrated them to make to free up the spectrum. So we are very ready for 5G currently. So what's the way forward? So like I said, we have already identified our spectrum. We are open for trials by any of the existing mobile network operators. We actually intend to collaborate with relevant bodies to curb indiscriminate fiber cuts. We all know that fiber cut is a big problem here in Africa because there are road constructions all the time. So I don't know how this can be solved. We really need to come, collaborate, and find a holistic way of solving these fiber cut issues. If you really want to have a good feel of what 5G brings to us, or what the next generation networks bring to us. And we also want to organize sensitization forums for some of the government agencies like the Environmental Protection Agencies and the ECG, that's Electricity Corporation of Ghana, and all the government agencies, so that they will be at par with us, so that they will know what the next generation technology brings to us. Then with my last point, I'm saying the government needs to adapt national policy to encourage 5G investment. We really need to come up with a national strategy or a policy for next generation network. Now researchers are looking into network 2030. Do we even have a policy for IMT 2020 or even big data, cloud computing? We really need to have a national policy to be able to really make good use of these technologies that are actually coming up. So that's the end of my presentation, and thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think this looks like a guy I'm going to like. For starters, I like his speed, so thank you very much. He's given us what's happening in Ghana. He absolutely put our legs to some of the things we've been saying. They're already implementing some of these things in their networks, in their day-to-day lives, shipping, traffic, and likewise. Now, Mr. Caballo, we have worked together for a long time. This one I know very well. So since I know him, you should know him as well. So, Mr. Caballo, the floor is yours.
I was just telling the chair that he was wasting time. We need to get through this. The presentation, please. You can tell me 2 minutes. Okay, thank you very much. I think this is not a new story, but Zambia, you know, has come up with sort of like an NSS, National Standardization Secretariat. So this secretariat basically has been formed, you know, as Zambia has been formed between two institutions. The first institution is called ZAB, Zambia Bureau of Standards. That's the national standardization body in Zambia, mandated to gazette Zambian standards. And ZICTA is also mandated to come up with the ICT standards in the ICT sector. So for us to be able to have Zambian standards in the ICT sector, we need to work with the overall, the mother body that does standardization in Zambia. So we came together, got an MOU, and now we've got an established national standardization secretariat that has got a number of stakeholders. That's the one on top, which we call the ICT Steering Committee. This committee comprises of various stakeholders from industry, the ICT sector, operators, consumer protection associations, so that whatever they feel that should be Zambian standards should come from them, and then they pass those assignments to what we call technical committees. So we currently have 5 technical committees which deal in various topics as indicated there. Just to give a summary of what we've achieved from 2015 to date, we see that the committees have at least held 2 meetings per year each. And these meetings are in form of breakouts. One meeting would last for like 3 days minimum. And of course, it depends on the amount of work they are doing. So it would last anything from 3 days to 5 days. They look at various standards that are topical in Zambia, and then they come up with a way forward, whether to adopt them or to adapt them. In certain instances, they've developed from scratch. So at least 1 meeting a year is held for each technical committee. And those are some of the statistics of the experts that are involved in these committees. We've got experts from government, experts from private sector, and also just experts who are interested in developing standards and they don't belong to any organization. There we've got the number of organizations that are involved in the standardization work. We've got private sector and government who come together, and sometimes private institutions or associations that come and join us into standardizing the ICT sector. Then we've got a number of adopted standards by the TCs per year from 2015 to last year. We see there that at least 3 TCs or 3 we have at least a TC adopting more than 30 standards in a year. On average, at least in a year, we do something like 30 standards. So they're doing quite well. But of course, we've also got some areas where we use standards. Mostly, ZICTA uses those standards in type approval guidelines, guidelines for installation of telecommunications infrastructure, quality of service and experience, e-waste management, and spectrum planning. International participation, of course, this is where we need to improve. What we are looking forward is that we can participate in more than the study groups that are indicated there. And usually participation depends on what an individual is interested in. And mostly ZICTA is one that participates in these ITU standards. But what we need to do going forward is to involve the technical committees to also be participating in these standards. And what we've done further is to mirror the technical committees with the study groups in the ITU of interest to that particular technical committee. So I think this is what I've just been talking about. We've got a bit of some challenges, of course. One of them, which is human resource, where we need the correct people to be participating in these committees. We've got issues to do with awareness. People don't really know why we should standardize. They feel that it's a waste of time. until something happens to them, they are ballocked by us, then they'll start participating. Of course, money is always at the head of challenges in Africa, and infrastructure is one of the issues that we face, like having a permanent meeting room, for example, having involvement of other stakeholders into coming to this infrastructure where they can equally participate in standardization work. Collaboration is also one of the issues. We need to collaborate with the local and at national level, and also at regional level. If we have similar organizations that could participate in standardization, that would be very good. And the other thing is currently we are downstreamers. We just downstream standards from the international community to our country, but we also now to be uploading some of our ideas to the organizations that do standards. Some achievements, of course, we've got that body that is now overlooking standardization in Zambia. We've aligned those TCs to the ITU activities, and actually we now need to encourage the TCs to be contributing to the work of ITU. Of course, we also participate in ISO and IEC on the other hand, but because this is an ITU presentation, I concentrate on ITU activities. So we are also trying to establish a website for this National Standardization Organization in Zambia so that it will be visible worldwide, and to encourage the local experts to participate in the standardization process. The outstanding steps, of course, we need some training to be done. We need to have the NSO be autonomous in terms of funding so that it can use its own funding. And also we need to strengthen sensitization in the standardization process. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Caballo, for giving us the last presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this session. Thank you very much for your patience. Like the leader of this workshop said, probably now you are hungry. I hope you all have this. I'm told that we have a crisis there. Our food is being eaten. We really need to go and rescue the food. So, but I'm not authorized to lead you out there. Let me invite the gentleman to